At some point, my father stayed a block from where I stayed with another family.
But you've never seen him?
So I saw him twice
in your life.
No, maybe 3 times in my life. But we've never had a conversation. And he had a family, and he was a family man. So obviously, I think I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
The thought does go through your mind. So he's capable. It's just
Yeah.
that he didn't want to.
Oof.
So you take that with you. You carry that with you.
Yeah.
Everything is done and defeated at the cross.
Yes.
But because we are under the sun, S-U-N,
Yes.
on earth, you have scars that are
they're there.
They are consequences of bad decisions.
Yeah.
So I think that makes it a bit more difficult because that situation is more prevalent in black men in black households.
Yes.
So compared to everyone, so even just stats, we carry that.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Gospel Coalition Africa podcast. I'm still your host, Black Newborn, and I'm with Katlego.
Yes.
Bro, what's your name, bro?
Katlego.
Katlego.
No one calls me that though. Everybody calls me Cat. So
Yeah.
if you say you're looking for Katlego, don't be here. So everybody just calls me Cat.
Yeah.
Calls me Cat.
That's cool, man. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. It's really awesome to have you. And we're going to be talking about something that's dear to my heart. And we'll get into it. I'm not going to say it yet. I just want to draw you in.
Okay.
So you're watching until we tell you what we're going to be chatting. You probably saw from the title. What am I saying? Anyway, bro, as we get into it, can you just tell us a bit about how you met Jesus?
Yeah, it's so I grew up in the townships and it's stereotype, but there isn't a lot of people reaching out. So I met Jesus first year of varsity.
Yeah.
The typical way. Someone asked me, if you die today, are you sure you won't go? You won't go.
Yeah.
And you brush it off. But it worried me. And then I met a few cats that were doing campus outreach ministry in varsity. But the thing is, these people were normal. They weren't your more hectic Christians, so to say. And
they didn't ask you if you die, where you gonna go?
No, and it was good, go see movies, but normal movies. I think stuff like that. They were doing live normally, but they were telling me they're about Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that drew me, and then I decided to question it.
Sure.
And then it unearthed stuff in me that weren't real.
Yeah.
That do you know why you're here?
Sure.
What's the point of this? Why do you put in so much effort? And there was no answer.
Sure.
And then as I pursued that and I got to know about him, not really know him, I was like, this I could do this.
Yeah.
And then I think I went to 1,000 altar calls. If there was an altar call, I was there. I'm like, I am giving. And then one day the Holy Spirit is like, man, I got you.
Yeah.
You don't have to. No, he said, that's not for you. It was at CRC. There was another altar call. I was going to go and it's like, that's not for you. And then I was like, okay.
Sure.
That's it. And then from then on it's been a journey.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, bro. You met the creator, your father.
Yes.
And you gave your life to him. That's pretty cool. You a father?
Yeah. Of 2.
Yeah, sure. You've been married for how long now?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years last month, actually.
That's pretty dope, bro.
Yeah. 5 years.
Sure. Can you tell us about how you met your wife?
So the PG version is that we met in varsity.
Yeah.
We hung around the same circles. We became friends for a very long time.
Okay. Yeah.
And then 2012, I'm just starting to see flames.
Yeah. Sure.
Who's this person? And then the rest was history. So we met varsity, studied together, got really close, but it was very platonic, almost family.
Sure.
She was, to everyone, she was my little sister. When I started work, I actually called her that. I introduced her as my little sister in the first year of work.
Yeah.
And then the second year, I'm like, this is my girlfriend. And they're like, didn't you say, what's going on here?
What kind of family is this?
Do we need to call someone? But so it was friendship that grew and grew. And then
that's really cool, man.
Yeah, grew into romance. And then 5 years and 2 kids later.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's how we do it.
And 5 years going strong. you grew up somewhere in Pretoria.
Yeah, I grew up
Mabopane,
so north of Pretoria.
Yeah.
It was actually part of Northwest back in the day.
Yes,
So
yes,
outskirts of Pretoria. Let's call it that. Outskirts of Pretoria.
Yeah. How was life growing up for you? Care to share with us? Did you grow up with both your parents?
No, so grew up in a single parent home.
Okay.
And I don't know, in the townships, that's the norm.
That's
that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing as much for me, because I'll say like in my street we had like maybe 40 houses. Maybe 3 were dual parent homes. Everyone else was a single mom.
Yeah.
So it was the norm.
Sure.
But I went to a multiracial school, and that's when I saw that actually I'm not normal.
Yeah.
They had I remember Father's Day was rough for me, because not that because I never knew my dad.
So you grew up with your mom?
I grew up with my mom.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew.
Yeah.
I still use my mom's surname. So when I was in primary, my mom changed her surname. So I don't even have that. I am whoever of some clan. I'm using my mom's surname. Is my mom's surname.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was like everyone else until I went to a multiracial school.
Yeah.
And they have this Father's Day. They talk about camping.
Yeah.
And black mother is not about to go camping, sleep in some tent. So that was a bit rough. I think with exposure it became a bit rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom held it down. Raising a boy in the township was tough. And she was hard. My mom was hard.
Yeah.
And I can say this because I have a younger brother, 14 years younger
than you.
Yeah, so I could see the difference. She's very soft.
Yeah.
Like with me, she was hard.
She wasn't playing games.
No, she was hard.
Is it just the two of you at home?
It was, so I know it's 3. So you know how it is with black families. If a family member dies, they adopt the kids.
Yeah.
I've got a sister that way,
cool.
older sister.
Yeah.
I think she's 11 years older than me. Then there's me, and then there's my brother, who's my biological brother.
Yeah, sure.
So there's just 3 of us. And like no dad, no male influence, that kind of thing. I think the best shape of masculinity I got is from God, and I know how that sounds super spiritual, but
dope.
there was a void, and that's the only thing that could really fill it for me for whatever reason. And that's how I learned how to be a man.
Sure.
But it was cool. My mom did everything, so my work ethic is from my mom.
Yeah.
That lady worked, guy. That lady worked. So but it was cool. We'd all speak about it. You know, mom does this, mom does this. So you don't feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't feel. And the dads that were there weren't really there.
Sure.
So
they were there physically, but
so we're all the same. So this guy would be like, no, my dad is going to pay this, but he would never say, I hung out with my dad or my dad.
Yeah. Or I need advice, I'm going to go to my dad. Yeah, sure.
Or like when you get 13, 14 for us, is when you were like learning about sex and that stuff.
Yes.
No one was like, let me go ask my dad, guys, and I'll come back. It'll be like, let's steal this, let's look at that. Like, so we're all the same.
Sure.
Yeah. So that it was like everyone didn't have a dad, which is a sad reality.
And I think growing up, like at one level, you know something is not normal, but just because it's so rife and everyone is going through that same reality, it normalizes it, where you like, why do I even need a dad? To some extent, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, when you're faced with challenges and there's something in you that's screaming out for a male presence, before then, you're just like, I don't know, my mom does everything. Like, why?
And I went through a lot of that. I think when I became Christian, I was more awakened to the need of a dad a little bit, but I was fine. It's when my daughter was born, I read a book. It was written by a guy, and it's about how to be a dad, and I was like, I get it. I get the need. But like your black parents, black mothers spread themselves thin to cover, so you don't see. Also, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So I had a close friend who had a dad, and we were the same in terms of guidance. In terms of, I'll even go as far as to say, the choices that we made in life, mine were a bit better, not because I'm a better person.
No.
But it's because my mom was like, you're out.
Yeah.
I don't mess around.
She's going to strangle you.
Yeah, like, you know. So you're like, okay, but here's it. Okay, then you don't need. What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
Yes.
And then what happens is then you grow up and you're thinking, what's the big deal?
Yes.
Then you have a child and then you leave that woman. Because you're like, actually, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
If I'm there or not.
Sure.
this person will be fine. I'm fine.
My mother was okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, sure.
Yeah, like back up, lady. I'm out.
Sure.
Which is hectic.
Yeah, it's nice, man. And that's what we're actually talking about today, fatherhood, but particularly black fatherhood. For obvious reasons, you're a black guy.
Yeah. Yes, it's real. It's melanin.
You're a black father.
Yes.
But another thing is it is an epidemic. I don't think there's probably a lighter term to describe this.
Yeah.
The epidemic of a lack of black fathers is something that is quite prevalent in our culture as black people. Something that's prevalent across Africa.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
If not across the world.
Across the world.
Where black people are.
Yeah. Wherever you find black communities, you'll hear that same story.
Unfortunately.
Which is super sad.
Yeah.
Right? But in God's grace and His mercy, there's a new generation of black fathers that are just stepping up. And again, not out of our own strength, not of anything that we've done in our cleverness, but again, I think it's just the mercy of God in our lives. And so that's what we wanted to chat to Kat about this afternoon. Just how it's been for you as a black father. Some encouraging things, some challenges, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's obviously black fathers watching this, and how we can particularly encourage them. And so what I wanted to ask you, I mean, I just poured out my view on the thing. A lot of people, it's not a lot. I just actually heard one conversation, but this guy is actually like, he's super learned, right? He's some guy in the States. And he was like, nah, bro, the epidemic of a lack of black fathers is a myth. Like, black fathers are there. And I was like, what? Like, at least that's not what I'm experiencing where I live. So is it a myth? Is it a myth? Are black fathers there?
I think if we all spoke to our reality, it will prove that it's not a myth. Because, I mean, you talk to people, our generation, and you talk to people a bit older, and you ask them about their father. Don't even ask them about their world. Ask them about their father, and it's a different picture. And I don't think it's a myth. And the other reason I know it's not a myth is because when you do a little bit of fathering, the world like blows you up to be this messiah, which is the most ridiculous thing, by the way, because the base is so low. I change one nappy and then I'm a good dad. Is that the standard? That's such a ridiculous thing. So because of that, it can't be a myth. Because I mean, if you look at other races, if you look at maybe the Jewish people and stuff, they'll talk about legacy. Their concept of fathering is beyond just providing needs. It's about providing legacy. It's about identity. We are still, as black fathers, at a level of just, if I can provide, I make sure your outcomes in terms of education, in terms of vocation, is better than mine. I've done well. So you can see we're in our infancy in terms of fatherhood. And that's how I know it's not a myth, because we haven't, it's like anything else, like wealth, whatever. We haven't developed to where all the other, I'll say, races are. Therefore, it can't be a myth. It can't. And also, it makes it hard for ladies out there, because I mean, I'll share a silly story. So when my wife was pregnant with my daughter, who was my firstborn, we did this shoot, Komaboneng, and there's this picture where I'm kneeling down and I'm kissing her stomach, and I put that picture up. I put it as my WhatsApp, and I picked. I got so much crashing of, and it didn't make sense, because I'm like, but I'm with another woman. So how can this appeal?
So other women were like, yo, I want this guy.
And I know it's not me, because I'm not who's that guy? I'm not the hot, definitely not me. But because of a lack of that, you automatically become so appealing. I mean, I could be a douche for all the, I could be a douche to her. Exactly. But it's how rare that thing is. And that's why I think it's an epidemic. I think you're right. I think there isn't enough of it. And we also, the way it's there, we don't know what to do. Like, we're also figuring it out. So I can't be like also mentoring so many people, because I don't know. I'm just like, yo, turn right here with me, and then we'll see.
We'll see. I'm also walking this journey.
Yes, and at best I can walk the journey with you rather than mentor you, and we can see life together and say, okay, that was a bad thing.
Exactly.
Let's write it down.
So you grew up without a father. You meet Jesus. that radically changes your perspective on fatherhood.
Yes.
Can you walk us through how growing up with a single mother influenced you now as a father, along with finding yourself in a Christian community, finding yourself at the feet of Jesus? How those realities influenced you as a father today? Yeah.
I think I'll start with how my mom influenced me. Yes. So my mom always said, and it was on a basic level, it's like she always said, "You're a man."
Sure.
And by man, she meant I'm a man. I can do more things. I'm stronger. So she's like, because of that, you need to do more. You need to carry more of the weight.
Sure.
That obviously in the kingdom for me, it has translated in me being a better leader.
Sure.
Being able to lead and serve my wife.
Yeah.
So at home, other guys would just do the garden and they could go play.
Yes.
I had to do the inside stuff.
Sure.
So do the floor, cook, then do the garden, then go play, because I can do more. I'm a guy.
Yes. Sure.
And that shaped how I served.
Sure.
And the second thing is my mom didn't allow me as much patriarchy advantages as everyone else.
Sure.
So I worked at home. You would kill the cow and then cook it.
Yes.
Well, other men would kill the cow
and then go hang the skin. And then make the clothes from the skin
and then
to dress the family.
About which other cow must we get? You know what I mean? So she didn't. I didn't experience the advantages that I experienced later in life in other spheres.
Yes.
So, for example, if I went to a family wedding, I'd be there carrying the pot for my mom to put it in the thing.
Sure.
And then some other guys would have to come to me and say, no, men don't do that.
Yeah.
Men sit and drink and we'll kill the cow later.
Yeah.
That's not how I was brought up. I was like, if there's a need, you are a guy, you can. If you can do it, you should do it.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're being lazy.
Yeah.
And then I also...
Good, man. Props to your moms, bro.
Yeah, no. Like, my mom is a G, right? Yeah. And secondly, I think when I met God, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
And he just fathered me. He
Sure.
said, listen, I know further ahead of you.
Yeah.
If you trust me, I can show you.
Dope. Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I'll first love you. And this is what I mean.
Sure.
Go test it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was father, because he was saying, I know this.
Yeah.
I'm sure of this. I'll give you freedom to trust something.
Sure.
And then when you can see that you can trust me, you have to listen to me.
Yeah. That's good.
And then and also he was very, like, the kingdom is not a democracy.
No.
If you're in there, there's authority, there's rule. But you can get out if you want to get out.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And he was very clear for me with that, because he knew the person I am. He's like, but here, there's no voting.
No. Yeah, he's king.
It's my way. There's no even highway, because the highways belong to me. Yeah. It's my way or get out. So that was, like, there was a lot of learning on submission for me, to be under authority, to enjoy the privileges of authority, to know that authority is not just there for the sake, but also to respect authority. I think it's one of the things I have learned as a father that I'm teaching, because there's healthy respect for authority.
Sure.
And there's ways where you can use authority even for your benefit. Yeah. In a sense that you are under the certain level of authority. There's some benefits that come with it.
Yes.
But if you look at authority negatively, you don't even see that. Then you're always fighting it, and it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the authority is still there. That's the other thing that people don't
get.
Like, you don't change that. So you have a bad boss, and then you're like, but he's still your boss, and you like have now 5 years now that suck. That didn't change. So God like took me through the journey, and I felt as part of a pack.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I've always had family. I had my mom, but like, I don't know, when you have a father, you belong somewhere.
Yes.
I'm not underplaying what my mom did. I belonged in the Dubes, and that was fine, and I never doubted that.
Yeah.
But there's something deeper, maybe because I'm a man and I could talk to God in a masculine way, but I felt belonging, which was instinct, and I responded to it. So it changed, and then now I know that because I was given those gifts from God in terms of father, I'm obliged to give them, and I have them to give. I think that's the other thing. If you don't have a father, sometimes you don't have gifts to give. Like my daughter's identity, I know that as much as she'll be like her mom, but as a father, I'm meant to equip her to know that there must be an identity. There's something deeper than your name and your skin and even your belief. There's you in there, and I'm helping her see that, and then she can then draw it out.
That's good, bro.
But that was given to me, so this is not even my intellectual. Hey, I'm there. It was given to me so that I can give it to my kids. Yeah.
That's good, man. How has it been for you? So between you and your wife, and you spoke about leadership now. How has it played out? Because you spoke about servant leadership, right?
Yes.
And for black men, like servant leadership, we only hear leadership.
Yes. I would go as far as for men in general. Where's my food?
We hear leadership, and servant is everyone else. But you spoke about servant leadership. How does that work out between you and your wife? Is she like, yo, man, what are you doing? Like, just be a man, sit down, we'll give you food. Like, you know, like we were raised in an African traditional
context
culture
and where these roles are like. I think because we were friends for a long time, it wasn't as a sharper contrast. But there is still a bit of that where I can see she's wondering, is this leadership? Because part of what I've learned about leadership is partnership. So firstly, leadership, you need to be comfortable in your authority. Right? So I'm comfortable that I'm the head of the whole. She doesn't have to tell me that. She doesn't have to affirm that. She can, and she does. But I walk in knowing that.
Dope.
So when I serve, I'm serving from that place. I am pouring myself out for her. Right? So
that's good, bro.
It's not, and in that I'm leading already. So it's not her doing what I want. It's me bringing her closer to God, me showing. So I told her when we got together that one of my roles in your life is to be an extension of God's love. And then it's easy for me to call. So, and it is sometimes difficult because she'll be expecting me maybe to make a call, to just say, let's do this. But because I'm thinking and I'm knowing that I'm a leader, I'm like, that's not the right way to do it. That's not how I want to do it. If I'm not here, I want to know what kind of call you're going to make. So let's make the call together. It's a bit uncomfortable for her because she's like, no, but like, did he take the lead? Like what? Like mang would have just made a call. I'm seeing later than this moment.
That's good, bro.
And I'm building a person. I'm not about, and the thing is, if I needed my authority to be affirmed, I would have made the call. No, me, I'm making calls.
Look at me.
I don't need that. And I think it's also because of God. Like, He's given me this gift where I'm like, I don't need that. I'm here to serve her. But it is tricky because we are not in that context. Like even our prospect of marriage as black people, I don't think it's matured to that state where we can be flexible. It's difficult. I don't even think the Jewish people in that time, the Israelites, the Hebrew people, I don't think they didn't struggle with this because they also had their cultural stuff. Where men did this and women did that. I mean,
probably
this guy comes, he says he's the Messiah, but he's carpenting. That's why they were like, and then when
who's this guy?
You get hungry like us, Mara, we must suddenly. So I think it's the same thing, but I think what consistency. So I think I was listening to some podcast and the guy was revealing how, you know, when God said, I am that I am, right? And there were and that guy was saying, that's so rich because he's saying, the way I am now is the way I'll always be. No one on earth can ever say that. Like you can't say that because you are not that guy.
Exactly.
And what that translated for me was consistency.
If
she knows that I will always do this, I will always be there, I will always, then it buys me that currency to know.
That's good, man.
And for her to see that actually this is leadership because the outcome is controlled. He has thought of this. And she can ask. She can say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? Because remember, the other challenge for us, I think black men, is that our reference point, if you have a dad, more often than not, she wasn't with an educated, equal partner. So my wife is an engineer, right? She thinks she's probably smarter than me, actually. So now she will ask the question, but
why are we doing this?
That doesn't make any sense.
You can't say, sit down, woman.
You know, like, I will not buy bread. Like, it's fine, I'll go to Woolies and buy my own bread. It's all good, you know. So, and I think the challenge is you then to have a different quality of leadership because you can't leverage off providing to lead. You have to just lead.
You have to lead, man.
And she has to
Yeah.
see the value.
That's a
to say, I was
teachable
a-
moment, man. Leadership is more than provision.
Yeah, like because
dope, bro.
we can't do that. Like you
Yeah.
and I can't do that. You
Yeah,
can't
sure,
be you
sure,
and some
sure,
leader.
sure.
If you don't do this, I won't buy bread. You'll be like, that's cool.
Yeah, I have my own
I
salary.
actually am off carbs. So good luck, guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's how it pans out where there's
good, bro.
consistency. And I always go back to my dad,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is God, to say, how did he do it? What did he say? What
Yes.
was the last thing he said about this?
Yes.
And I know it sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but
Yeah.
if I don't know, I wait. That's all
good,
I do.
bro. Yeah. That's not simple. Waiting is not simple.
And I also say, I don't know. My love, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is where I'm feeling led, but this part I don't know.
Yes.
And we're gonna go with it.
Yes.
Because I'm trusting this.
Yes. That's good, bro.
Honestly.
Yeah,
and that's how it goes. And
Amen, man. And you have 2 kids. How old is your daughter?
so my daughter, my firstbborn, she's 3, and my son turned 1 August.
Yeah.
So
Turned
2-year
1.
gap.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
I have a daughter as well. When I got out of the hospital, right, the security guard was like, well, congrats on the kid. Is it a boy or girl? So I said a girl. And he was like, better luck next time, man. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
everything in me flared up.
Yes.
And I was like, cool, man, I'm a Christian. I can't beat this guy up. It's chilled.
Should've called me.
And then I should have called you, bro. And then, ironically, when I went to church, the security guard at our church, at our gate, said the same thing. And then some other dude said the same thing as well somewhere. And I think it was a security guard as well, so there's clearly a pattern.
So we know who not to tell about our
basically.
kids. Basically.
So, but it wasn't the first time I've ever heard that, and particularly from African men, that if you have a daughter, you failed as a man.
Yes.
Like
your
your
surname is gone.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
bloodline
Yeah, exactly.
finished.
Your firstborn is supposed to be a son.
Yes.
Your second born is a son. How did you process all of that stuff, if ever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
what? I think it was an outside thing because I didn't get it, right?
Yeah,
like I
sure.
got the surname thing, but I'm like,
yeah.
the way the world is going anyway, I wonder if the surname thing is actually going to work out. Like,
Sure.
I wonder if, like, 10 years from now, people won't be going the other way. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. And I think it's so weird that I didn't have that even my wife was worried.
Sure.
She's like, your firstborn is not a guy.
Yeah.
Are you going to be excited?
Sure.
Like, are you going to... And like, anyone will tell you that knows me that, like, my daughter's my girl.
Yeah, sure.
Like
That's
we
dope,
hang
bro.
out and I mean my son is coming into his own now.
Yeah.
But my daughter and I are very close.
Yeah,
I guess my son and I are very close as well.
Yeah. He needs to go get a job. He's 1.
Unemployed youth. I was telling my wife that I have this unemployed youth in my house and now he's keeping me awake.
He needs to sort
So
his life out.
I'm just like, because at least now she's going to school, we can say
at least she's doing
increasing
something.
potential to earn. But anyway, so it wasn't a big deal for me. But outside, it was the whole thing. Oh, a girl, how, like everybody will be. They didn't say better luck next time, but they were like, "How are you dealing with it?
How are you dealing with it?
Yeah, like is it? Are you gonna go for round 2 because now your firstborn, man." And it didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't identify with it just because your kid is your kid,
Yeah, man. Amen, bro.
But I think the system was more shocked than I was, or more disappointed than I was.
Yeah.
And I had to own that, but it was also an opportunity to be different. And say, not like confront them and make it a thing, but to say, actually, I'm cool that it's a girl.
Yeah, okay, bro.
Also, I got raised by a lady, so I'm very comfortable around ladies.
Sure.
In a legit way,
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
But I'm very comfortable. I mean, in the house now, before Bokan came, I was the only guy.
Yeah.
So with our nanny, with our 2 dogs are both female. When I was at home, I just lived with ladies. So for me, it wasn't a thing.
You're asserting your authority. I see you. Even with the dogs, bro.
I'm just like, hey, everyone, fall in line. Yeah. So it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And I even started questioning myself that, is it because I don't have a dad that I can't identify
Sure.
this thing? Should it be a
Sure.
problem?
Sure.
Are you being a man?
Sure.
Because men mind this thing. And I was like, no.
Nah, bro.
A child is a child,
Yeah.
and you become a father to that child,
Amen.
and you have max 18 years to make this
Amen.
person the next K of the gospel if they choose so.
Sure.
To change this world better than you could have changed it.
Sure.
And to touch people's lives.
Amen, bro.
And to say, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I don't think gender matters for that.
Sure. No.
So yeah, like I think I struggled because the world struggles, but then I had to pull myself towards myself to say, does it really bug you? Sure. Because even with this one, when we were pregnant, I knew it was a boy. I don't know how I knew, just like I knew this one was a girl before Renee told me. But I wasn't more excited, and I again searched myself to say, should I be? Like I was actually saying that I'm gonna have this unemployed guy in my house, and now
it's gonna chill here and play PlayStation.
But like I think it's that thing, and I think I read an article that said that in some region in India, they haven't had a girl in 2 years because when a girl is born, they terminate. I mean, when they find out the sex, they terminate because it's seen as no value than a guy. And I think it's right. It's a maybe it's a morph or another strand, but of this thinking of the boy is better, then it leads to stuff like that.
Sure. So, bro, being a father is hard. And so on. I mean, if you've been a father for 2 seconds, and I mean, you're present, you want to be there, you love your wife, you love your kids, you love Jesus, you know it's a hard job. It's not an easy job, right? And we don't want you guys to think that as we're chatting, we might sound like we've figured out stuff, but we haven't at all. It's, again, because of the grace of God over our lives. So being a father is hard. Do you think it's harder being a black father? You know what I mean? With all the stereotypes, with all the stigma, with the lack of black fathers, the legacy we have. So do you think it's hard just being a black father?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not also trying to victimize us or anything like that or play the victim. I do think it's harder because, firstly, I'm coming in with a grudge, right? So I never did. I don't know why. Like, you know why, but you don't know why. Like, he's never set me down or written a letter to say, listen, guy. And you're either... So for me, I never knew him. So it's not that deep. But for someone, they are probably struggling with rejection. They're struggling with their masculinity. And I mean, I didn't know my father, but I knew that he had another family. So it's actually a wild story. At some point, my father stayed a block from where I stayed with another family.
But you've never seen him?
No, so I saw him twice in
your life.
No, maybe 3 times in my life. But we've never had a conversation. And he had a family, and he was a family man. So obviously, I think I was in high school at the time. And the thought does go through your mind. So he's capable. It's just that you didn't want to. So you take that with you. You carry that with you. Everything is done and defeated at the cross. But because we are under the sun, S-U-N, on earth, you have scars that are there.
They're there.
They are consequences of bad decisions. So I think that makes it a bit more difficult because that situation is more prevalent in black men in black households. So compared to everyone, so even just stats, we carry that. So there is that you're stepping in with a blurred view. If you didn't have Jesus to redeem that view, you're seeing your life, first of all, right? Secondly, one of the things that I've seen is that on any level, kids need resources, right? Like anything. So I'm not saying, so you can go as far as to say they must go to the best private school. They need an education, it's resources. So you come in, and because of the legacy and because of where we are as black people in terms of transferring wealth, you don't have resources, right? You are packing through. That's another strain, and I think it makes it hard. Thirdly, there is no mentorship. Like, you don't know. The amount of black marriages that you can look up to is limited.
Bro, that's another thing.
That's my thing, and remember that plays a role in your fatherhood. So you just started figuring out how are you a black man who gets married in their 20s and their marriage works. You don't know that.
You don't have a picture.
My
of
mom
that.
just told me that she told someone about our story, which I don't think it's amazing. And that person said it's impossible. It's impossible for people to get married that young in their
20s. Black people,
and they're still together now.
5 years, bro.
5 years, and they're fine. So you're already learning that. You have no reference point. Church deals with real marriage surface. They don't. My experience is that they don't equip you to do the long haul. You know, when you're gonna do 96K, don't tell me go eat a banana. Tell me I'm gonna have blisters and I'm gonna need to take off time. I'm gonna have to go to therapy, whatever.
Yes.
So I think like those legacies.
That's crazy.
The deficiencies is our legacy, and that makes it. And then on top of that, you have people praising you for doing the bare minimum, which messes with your mind sometimes if you're not focused. Then you think, actually, cause so I always tell Renee, if she's going somewhere and I'm staying with the kids, I'm not doing her a favor. I'm parenting. It's what I'm supposed to do.
We're not babysitters, bro.
No, and also I'm not like if there is some points out there, I don't get an extra point.
No.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's different from I'm minding these kids because my wife has gone out. This is how much of a good guy I am.
Yeah.
That's a different philosophy altogether.
Yeah.
Because then I'm beasting out, man.
Yeah.
But when I'm like, no, calm yourself.
Yeah.
You are like, if you're not doing this, you're actually not doing your job.
You're not fathering.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I think that messes with you, and compounded with the other things, you tend to fade quickly as a black dad.
Yes.
And also, we are not, as black people, we don't have networks. We don't function that way.
Ironically,
we
you know what I mean? We're the people with Ubuntu, but ironically,
we don't have network where I can say, listen, Black, I'm fading as a father.
Yeah.
Let's have that. I'm fading.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
But, and because we can be honest, it's tough.
It's tough.
Like, I am seeing, I don't know how many times I tell, because I talk to myself where I'm like, Kate, you're seeing your life here. Like yesterday I slept at 2 because I just couldn't sleep and I was tired. And I've told you my routine for church. And I had to wake up and do that at 6, so to make sure the family gets to church.
Yes.
Again, servant leadership. You create the right environment so that people can go see Jesus.
Yes.
Because it's hard.
Amen.
It's hard. It's 2 kids that both need to be bathed, both need to be fed.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing that, I'm not like,
look at me.
Like this is so fulfilling. My purpose in life.
While you're playing worship music in the background, bro.
And I'm like, I'm tired. I'm just like, why am I? I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I'm thinking to myself, the word better be good because like this is hard. So I think it makes it tough. Like the background to get us to where and also there's so few of us who are there.
Exactly.
That you don't have a reference point.
No.
There isn't a lot of people to call to say
no.
it's going well or it's not.
Yeah, sure.
So you don't. So bottom line, you don't have guidance, or you don't have a measuring stick to know what you're doing.
Sure.
You come in with baggage a lot that you don't know how to deal with. So you're still carrying
from your own scars,
from your own scars,
lack of a relationship with your father.
And obviously they permeate, right?
Yes.
They permeate into your marriage, they permeate into your kids and how you treat them.
Yes.
Then it's hard. And thirdly, the world doesn't see us. So each time I tell people I'm a black father that's engaged, I am wary of saying good because I don't know. I don't know if engaged means good. Because that's another level, right? Like God can say I'm a good father, and I don't think it's because he's just engaged. There's another level. I'm still learning. So I tell people they either overpraise me or they don't believe me, and that's another burden of a bad dad, of a black father. That you are the culprit always. They assume, are you helping? Like I don't know how many times my mom has asked me, "Are you helping Renee with the kids?" Are you? Because
the assumption is because you're a black dad, you're not gonna do it.
And then we have fragile egos. You ask me that 5 times, I'm like, God, I'll be that guy. I'll show you that I'm that guy that doesn't help.
Exactly.
So I think it's tough. I think it's tough. And I think it's just getting into the game.
Sure. No, I hear you, bro. I know we've been chatting, and somebody might be watching this and they're saying, "Yo, listen, I agree 100% with you guys, but you might be failing to acknowledge that for other fathers, in fact, the generation before us and even 2 generations before us, other black males particularly were prevented to being fathers because of the history of our country, where you think of migrant laborers, you know what I mean, who left the villages, came to the city, and when you actually think about the environment they lived in hostels, I come from Tembisa, and there was at least like 2 big hostels in the south of Tembisa and the west of Tembisa, and all the only thing those guys did is work, come back, the only entertainment is alcohol, and there's just nothing else that's recreational. They didn't have the luxury of playing golf, the luxury of going onto the streets and jogging, and you know what I mean, like all the benefits and privileges we have now, where your kids are driving you nuts, and you're just like, alright, cool. At 4 a.m. I'll go on the road and jog, just to de-stress or whatever, you know what I mean, or play golf over the weekend. But they were prevented from leaving the hostel, first of all. So it was illegal for them to even go into the city to do anything else. They were prevented from mixing with other cultures, so they couldn't even get benefits from other cultures. And the only thing that they were left with is work and alcohol. And so as much as we know that there's a legacy of absent fathers, the other people were prevented. Any thoughts on that? Any comments on that?
I think it's further like, and I agree with you. I don't wanna underplay the effect of that, because it actually, what we were dealing with the symptoms or the outcome. But that says why we're here, why we're where we are. And I still think that we are where we are because of that. Because I spoke about how black fathering is not matured like other races. It couldn't have been, because our fathers worked and drank. And I mean, I'm not talking about even our fathers. I'm talking about their fathers. So they had no choice. We are where we are because of Jesus and because of the exposure we got.
Amen,
What I am saying is that we know of the legacy, and they have paid the cost for it, and we are paying part of the cost for it. But if we want it to change, there's a cost to be paid, and I'm saying that we need to pay it. And it's hard. We could be the generation that changes the trajectory of black fathers, of how black fathers are viewed. That change will cost. And I think, I mean, even if think about it, if that dad who worked at the mines and did that for 10 years, when he comes back, what kind of a father is he expected to be if that's all he did? I mean, what kind of a man?
He hung out with other men.
And what kind of a man, what kind of a husband, you know? So it's almost an unfair ask. So, and I think we are there. But what I know is that if we don't change it, then what has been done to our dad will carry on being done to generations to come. Only we can change that. That doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, I feel it with myself. It's tough. It's tough being a dad, because you're second guessing yourself, and also just being a parent is hard work. Plain and simple. And I want us to acknowledge our heritage. That's where we come from, and to honor their sacrifice. To say they will say, I didn't father you, but I worked so that you could. So that a generation after me, someone could go to varsity.
That's good.
And I want to say, we honored that by saying, then we will then recreate fatherhood, that you were robbed, so that your legacy is complete. That the kid not only goes to varsity, but is a good father.
Amen.
And that's my view. I think it's a very hard history, and we were robbed of a lot of good fathers. And to honor them, we will be good fathers.
That's good, man. So I think even with that said, man, there's healing in the gospel. And I think there's no hope anywhere else besides the gospel. And even with acknowledging the brokenness of our history, that does not give you license to say, well, because let's say 2 generations from now, my dad says, well, my dad was not there. You know what I mean? And then he's like, no, I'm bailing out. And so we're not even bringing up the point of history just so that there's an scapegoat. If you've made bad decisions as a father, we're saying there's healing in the gospel. Go to the foot of the cross, be on your knees. Jesus will teach you how to be a man. He'll forgive you for all your sins. And so there's healing, and which is a good thing, and it's something that I think fathers need to hear. And if you're watching this as well, you're a dude and you have serious scars. You know, and in fact, both of us have scars from a lack of fathering in our lives when we were growing up. And I think what we're trying to do with this podcast is not to like increase your pain, but to kind of say, yo, man, there's healing in the gospel for you, and maybe this is the time where you start processing the pain that you've had from the lack of relationship with your father, and this even might be a cool thing that you like, yo, let me go watch it with my dad or send it to him, whatever the case, if there is still that relationship. If there isn't, yo, man, Jesus is there, and he'll definitely provide healing, you know what I mean, through his good news. So
and I think as a parting shot, I'll say as well, just if you're like brave enough, speak to someone. Say, listen,
amen, bro.
I'm broken. Like you don't even have to justify your case, but to say, I'm broken. I don't know how to be a dad, and there's this demand to be a dad. And I think from community again, you can be pointed to Jesus. You can be restored, and we can father together. We can be a whole team of fathering people, and start small, but we can be the answer.
Anything you would say to black fathers who are watching this, how to encourage them? Black father who's starting out, a guy who's probably married, thinking about being a father, or even single guys who are like, the reason why I'm not getting married is because I was burnt by my father, or lack of him being there. What can you say to them?
I think one thing I would say is that the true requirement for being a father is love. If you can love your kids, man, like none of us have it figured out. Even the guy that you look up to, who you've seen, whatever color, no one has it figured out, right? So you are actually not that far off the mark from everybody else. So don't disqualify yourself. We're all struggling. And secondly, we all have love to give. It can be small, it can be big. It's there. It's guaranteed it's there. It's there for your mom. It's there for your wife. It's there for someone. It's there for your job. There is love. And that's all you need for the kid, right? Because that will create the environment where you then hustle to provide for them. You then sacrifice your time. And I think the other thing is, we as black people have lost community. Because back in the day, even if it wasn't perfect, right? If there was a child walking on the street and they were hungry, someone would feed them. And I think if we could my encouragement for black dad is, get a community. It doesn't even have to be a black community. At this rate, just get a community.
Get it,
green, purple, whatever. Just get it. Just get it. And it will make life a bit easier for you, because you won't walk alone.
That's good.
Because it's a tough journey. And I really believe that I'm not the most amazing person. And it sounds cliche, but if I can do it, like you can do it. Guaranteed you can do it.
That's good, bro.
And the last thing is, I think it's the answer for the country. And I know how that sounds, like you can give me all the economic problems and all the social problems. And actually I know them and I get them. And I still stand by this. That part of the solution is answering this call to be a dad to those people, so that they can then change, because the cycle only stops. Any bad cycle stops with love. Love is the only thing that can stop a bad cycle. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing. Not education. Not even wisdom. Love is the only thing that will stop this cycle. And I think
good,
if you want to change the country, if you want to change where your family is going, if you want to do something that's beyond yourself, you want to leave a legacy here, that's the best way to do it.
That's good, bro. No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for inviting us into your home.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
I hope I didn't confuse nobody.
Nah. Bet you guys were encouraged, and this was indeed helpful. And in fact, there's other articles on the website that you can check out, especially the one about community and Ubuntu and what that means for us who live in Africa. And I did a thing on fatherhood as well. So please do check that out. It's on the Gospel Coalition website. And there's other resources. But Kat, thank you, man. Really appreciate that, bro.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We'll pray for black fathers. Pray for fathers in general.
Always.
Again, thank you for watching this, and do follow us on our website, follow us on our social media, and share the resources. We hope that it does bless and encourage you. That's it from us. Grace and peace.
Yes.